Hello, welcome to your video on solving multi-step inequalities. This is where it gets fun. You will be able to solve and graph all different kinds of crazy inequality problems. So let's get started. Alright, first example for you. This is just a basic two-step problem. And again, we're going to untie what's tied to the variable. And when we do this, we have to go the opposite way in order of operations. So I have to get rid of adding and subtracting first. So I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. And then I'm left with 4t is greater than, oops. I was going to write 20, that's no good. 12. And then divide by 4 on both sides. And t is greater than 3. Now keep in mind, this problem we didn't have any multiplying or dividing by a negative, but just keep in mind if that happens, you need to reverse the sign. And then a quick little graph for this one. 3. T is greater than, so we need bigger numbers. The graph looks like that. Alright, practice for you doing two-step inequalities. Just remember, if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, you have to reverse the sign. Go ahead, show all of your work, solve them, and graph them, and then check in with me for the answers. Okay, here are your answers for you. The first one, a is greater than or equal to -4. There's the graph. 2 is 3 is greater than n, and the graph for that. And then 25 is greater than x for the last one, and the graph for that. Make sure is actually wrong. You need your arrow going to the left, not the right, because x is less than 25. Make sure you're getting these right. If you have questions, be sure to bring those to class. All right, next example. This example, it answers the question, well, what do we do about the distributive property? So just like we've been doing with multi-step equations, you have DC untie that you're using. So you're going to distribute, then combine, and then untie everything. So distributing first, we get 3t plus 3 minus 4t is greater than or equal to -5. Then we combine 3t and -4t. So if we add the opposite, we can see that very clearly. That's -4. And then we're left with a -t plus 3 greater than or equal to -5. And then we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. And we get -t is greater than or equal to -8. Now, just like in algebra, you can't have anything that has just a -t. It has to be positive. So we are going to divide by a -1. Okay, because that's what's invisibly there. So then we get t, and because we divide by a negative, our sign changes directions. And then we will get t is less than or equal to 8. And then we'll draw a quick graph. And t is less than or equal to, so it is smaller numbers. Another example. This one answers the question, well, what if there are variables on both sides? Then what do I do? So just like we've done before, we distribute, combine, and then untie. There's no distributing here, but we do have to move the one variable to the other side. Again, it doesn't really matter what you move where, as long as you're moving it correctly. I'm going to move this one so that I get 3n minus 1 is greater than 8. And now I'm untying. And n is going to be greater than 3. And then I'll draw this up here. 3. And n is greater, so it's going bigger numbers. Alright, your turn to practice these two concepts. Go ahead and solve these, show all of your work, and then graph it, and then check in with me. Alright, answers. Number 1, we have negative 3 is greater than or equal to m. So when we draw our graph, negative 3, negative 4, negative 2, it is a closed circle and m is smaller, so it's going to the left. Number 2, we have b is greater than 3. And when we draw our picture, it is going to be an open circle at 3 and going to the right towards bigger numbers. Okay, here are some unique situations that I'm going to talk about. You're going to treat it just like normal, but then watch and see what happens. So here we're going to distribute and then combine. Oops. Almost made a mistake there. And then I'm going to add a on both sides. And when I do that, those cancel. So I'm left with 10 is greater than or equal to 10. That is a true statement. 10 is equal to 10. So your answer then is all real numbers. All right, next unique example for you. Treat it just like normal and watch and see what happens. So combining, because there's no distributing. And I'm left with 7, subtract 6m on both sides, and I'm left with negative 5 is greater than 7. Now, clearly that's not a true statement, so the answer then is no solution. Alright, practice problems for you. Here's 2 of them. Go ahead and solve them, and then graph them if possible, and then check in with me. Alrighty, answers for number 1. That is no solution. And the next one, you end up with having an answer of 8 being greater than or equal to 2. That is a true statement, so your answer then is going to be all real numbers. Alright, thanks for watching. I look forward to practicing with you in class.